Still have a little bit of time to. You can keep going. Oh, right.
Good evening. It is 7:02. I'd like to call the August meeting of the Sutton Police Department Committee to order. Thank you all for being here. First item on the agenda is approval of minutes from our prior meeting on July 11th. If everyone could peruse those. And we do have quorum to vote on those by one person. Thank you, Jerry, as always.
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes of the meeting of July 11, 2018 as presented.
There a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye.
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 3. All those opposed? And any abstentions?
This guy.
1 abstention. So actually we had 4 in favor.
Yeah,
Well,
I wasn't here the other.
yeah, he wasn't here.
Right.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4.
4 in favor, 2 abstentions.
Yep.
4-0-2. Okay.
Perfect. Thank you, gentlemen. Next item on the agenda would be a finance update. I'll turn the floor over to Neil for that. Everyone has a small spreadsheet in front of you.
So, in terms of the overall numbers you see in front of you today, we've incorporated, all change orders that have been executed and signed to date, as well as invoices that have been processed. We're up to just over 37% on the overall budget. And in terms of, contingency, we are still plus roughly 230,000 overall on the project. So we're in very good shape. Obviously, most of the expenditure to date has been in construction, as well as the design costs. We'll start to see other things like furniture and equipment will start to come into play in the fall as we start to finalize those purchase orders and release those materials for fabrication. So, like I said, other than normal wear and tear, if you will, on the budget, payment of expenses, nothing out of the ordinary for this month. And things are still heading in a very positive direction as we proceed with work on the site.
Thank you, Neil. Does anyone have any questions about the information you have in front of you or anything from prior meetings? Jim, did you have a statement? You sounded like you
No,
wanted
I
to say something.
was just curious as to what your opinion of the project status is currently. Is it moving along as expected, or?
Financially or otherwise, Jim?
We'll get to otherwise after.
All right, so we'll wait on otherwise.
Okay.
So for where we are with regard to the status of the construction, you think we're on point for budget at 37-ish%?
Yep.
Okay. Does anyone have any further financial questions or concerns? Nothing from you, Tim? Okay. Fantastic. We'll move on to the next item on the agenda, which is a construction update. So I'd like to hear from Neil, and then Matt, anything you have to add?
So in terms of construction, anybody that's been by the site can see, since we met last month, we have installed the majority of the roof trusses. The roof has been sheathed. The ice and water shield has been placed on the roof. That's the underlayment to the shingles. And the roofer has started shingle installation on the roof. The windows have been delivered. They are currently on site. And the work on the shell is progressing. The mason has been working on the lower level, completing the vehicle bays, as well as the sally port. And inside the building, the electrician and mechanical subcontractors have been working on piping, roughing, as well as conduit and back boxes from the electrician, and ductwork and other rough items from the mechanical contractor. So work is progressing. In terms of where I thought they would be, when we met with the committee last month, we had said they lost a little bit of momentum going into the 4th of July. They had some subcontractor issues. People weren't showing up regularly. They had some trade issues. We have seen an improvement to some degree from them. However, I'd be misrepresenting if I said I wish they weren't further along. They are working, they are getting the trades on site, in particular the electrical, the plumbing, the mechanical, have all been very responsive. Over the last month, they had some hiccups with some of their subcontractors regarding scope. There was some disagreement as to whether one particular scope or another was owned under the contract. So those trades, in particular the roofing trade comes to mind. I think that we represented the town well in those situations. We explained our position and explained the documents relative to the scope questions. And the subcontractors had yielded and did go back to work. But again, it was an impact. They lost a couple of days here and there. You know, this is when we like to see the schedule gaining momentum and turning things over to the subcontractors. I think we had all hoped that they would be further along than they are now, but they are where they are. They have recently produced a schedule to us. It came hot off the presses in a draft form today that still forecasts them completing in early December, as we had talked about with the committee before, and completing the project punch list and all in early January. So that has not changed. What we need to do is scrub that document fairly well and identify the areas that we still have concern over. You know, obviously the envelope of the building and making it tight and waterproof so that the trades can continue their work and their roughing and we can start the finishes are all important, as well as going through the shop drawing process for some of the finishes and getting those items procured and ordered as well. So we are on it. As I said, we wish they were further along. They're not. So we'll deal with what we have and hopefully have a better update in 3 or 4 weeks when we meet again.
Additionally, on the construction side, all of the brick and precast water table is also on site. So once the mason completes the maintenance bays, that exterior veneer will start to go pretty quickly, which will be part of closing the building in and getting the windows installed. Tomorrow morning, the civil engineer will be out to inspect the subgrade for the leach field, which is a major milestone for getting the septic system completed. Aside from that, everything else is ongoing. They're scheduled for binder course within the coming weeks as they final grade. Most of the storm structures are completed, as well as underground propane tanks. The transformer containment and pad has been set. And a lot of those site utilities are being completed and are just about done. We did have correspondence with Nelco related to the schedule. Earlier today, we had noted a few of the major milestones that were shown on their latest schedule that was presented in early July that they had missed, and we told them we want to keep a regular schedule going at every job meeting, and we want to find a way to, you know, if they're honest with us where they are with everything, then we can help them find a way to get through some of these critical path items and complete it on time. So we're finding ways to work together and cooperate in a way to get them back on schedule. So
I have a question. I see they're doing some grading work out front. Is that soil that was already on site, or are they already bringing soil in for that?
You talking about the loam or the dock
Yeah.
material? I think that was mostly material that was excavated from the leaching field.
Okay.
So they brought it up and they placed it into future planting areas or grassed areas
Okay.
underneath as subgrade.
Tim, you have a question?
Yeah, I've been trying to figure out how I want to phrase it. So, based on the last project we did, we had subcontractor issues, and it was a financial issues, which means GC was getting paid, but he wasn't paying the subs. I just want to make sure that's not the issue. It's just strictly a scope issue, like you said, and
I've not
subs
heard.
are getting paid.
Yeah,
I've not heard of that yet.
I'm not aware that the subcontractors aren't being paid.
Okay.
No one has brought any direct payment requests unless
No.
the town has received something that we're not aware of.
I think Nelco is a relatively large company, much bigger than this small little project. They're probably a international company. So versus TLT, which had a few projects ongoing in Massachusetts, so I haven't heard anything that there's a financial issue at all.
Jesse?
Yeah, I have two questions. The first is in terms of buttoning up outside. Estimated timetable to when the building would be at least enclosed? We talking September, October-ish, or?
Oh, I would think, yeah, I would hope early September is what I would expect. I mean, the building is not massive. It's a relatively small project, so once the frame is up and the roof is on and the interior of the building is dry, that will release the rest of the interior rough-in work to begin, which really, in my estimation, is critical path. I mean, you could be finishing the outside of the building right up until occupancy, and it's not gonna affect anything inside the building. The real key is gonna be to button it up and skin the building and get it protected from the elements as you move forward. And once that happens, and the subs will take over and drive the job from the inside out.
Okay.
And I would expect, like I said, I would expect when we sit down next month, if we're not considerably further along, the questions will be more difficult to answer. I can assure you that, Jesse.
Okay. My second question is something that popped to mind, as you mentioned, with it being wet, because obviously we've had significant downpours, and my mind goes back to some of the conversations that like Concom had and Planning Board in terms of water flow from across the street. How was the site impacted by some of the torrential downpours that we've had in the last couple of weeks?
We did some repair work on some of the actual storm lines that were coming into the site. We noticed that one of the ones that we were putting a new storm scepter on and diverting into the new outfall was severely damaged. Last year when we were digging test pits, we noticed the water table was only a few feet below grade. Certainly we're a little bit past the seasonal high water table, but when we dug for the leach field, we noticed that the water table was down about 15 feet lower than it was about a year ago. And we're noticing significantly less standing water issues during excavations that were there during the beginning of construction since they repaired that. So I think there's sort of less of an impact on the site now that we've done some of that repair work. But as they've been digging some of their deeper excavations, we've been noticing that there's a lot less water impacting the site.
That's
Okay.
great.
And in terms of the flow, it's not impacting any of the butters? Because I know there was a concern with the house behind having water flow, no issues?
Not that we've been aware of.
Okay, excellent, thank you.
Jim, did that answer your prior question about progress? Yes.
Neil,
Yes, sir.
radio communications equipment, is it on order?
I don't know, truthfully. I know that they finished the communications study. They did tower installation. I know that they're progressing. However, I don't know that they've released all of the radio equipment for fabrication.
That's one of my interests, the stuff that would be in the news station downstairs
Yep.
with alphabetical letters starting in M.
So we're right now, according to Nelco's schedule, they're finishing the building work in place punch list completed the first week in January. So we would expect, probably just prior, maybe just before the holidays, that the radio and communications contractor, Cybercom, would begin work inside of the station. So it wouldn't surprise me if the equipment wasn't ordered yet, considering it's the first week in August.
Right, if you
I
could
would-
ask,
Sure, I'd be
because-
happy to follow up with Cybercom and find out what the status is.
I'd like to see this stuff on somebody's ground other than waiting and, whoops, we can't talk.
I got you, loud and clear.
See, who needs communication equipment? Any other questions from the committee? Any questions from the audience? No? All right, well, thank you, gentlemen, for your frankness and your report. Next item are older new business items. The only item I have is scheduling our next meeting, which will be Wednesday, September 5th, the first Wednesday following Labor Day. Unless I hear back from people that that's going to be a quorum issue due to vacations, we'll plan on the 5th. Does anyone else have any new business, old business? None? I would entertain a motion to adjourn at 7:16.
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much.